we have a question we want to ask about what happened to you in 2016 with this Bernie Bros movement, where your followers are seeing they have a racism problem, a misogyny problem. Do you think that's a super PAC thing behind that?
That was the Democratic establishment. That was the.
Wow. Okay.
That was just, they were sitting there. We had a lot of young people. We had people of color, and they create this kind of myth with the help of the corporate media and all that stuff.
It's kind of interesting to that note is during this election, the podcast space, which the Democrats largely avoided, they feel had some influence in the election, and they started to label us the podcast bros and said that we were sexist and we were racist and bigoted. It's almost like it's the exact same strategy to get you out of there.
Yeah, that's what the liberal elite China does. They run away. Look, again, I would hope that everybody who's watching the program is that we as a nation have got to end all forms of bigotry, right?
Yes.
That I start off as a basic assumption.
Unless it's to your close friends, right?
Yeah, whether it's racism or sexism, homophobia, or xenophobia, whatever it is. And liberal Democrats talk about that all the time. And then you get to what we call identity politics.
Yeah.
That you're black, you're wonderful, you're tremendous, you're gay, you're the greatest human being on earth.
Yeah.
And rather than say, what do you stand for?
Exactly.
You're gay, that's fine, who cares?
Yeah.
But what do you stand for?
Yeah.
Is every gay person brilliant and wonderful and great? No, of course not. Everybody's a human being.
Yeah.
So the issue is what you stand for, which gets you back to what we discussed earlier, class politics, in the sense of which side are you on? Are you going to stand with working families? Are you going to raise the minimum wage to a living wage or not? Are you going to fight to guarantee health care to all people or not? Are you going to demand that the wealthiest people start paying their fair share of taxes or not? Those are the issues. And no one cares what color you are, what your gender is, et cetera, et cetera.
I'm sorry. I do feel like vowing to stop taking super PAC money is a great first step, but also being an honest politician. You put up a bill to stop the sale of weapons to Israel, and there's no amount of money AIPAC can spend to not get you reelected. And I feel if we had more honest politicians, then
courageous ones.
Yeah,
you're raised. This is a very this is a good discussion.
Why are you shocked?
I'm shocked because I do a lot of stuff. Right. You're asking questions that are not often asked.
This episode has been promoted by Walter O'Malley's Foundation.
All right. It's a painful issue. I mean, because I deal with it every day in Washington. You're running for office. If you, in your heart, understand what's going on in Gaza right now, and again, it's almost painful to talk about it, the United States is complicit in the starvation of children as we speak right this moment, okay? Mass malnutrition, etc. And you say, that's wrong, man. And I'm not going to give Netanyahu another nickel, but I know that the day I say that, AIPAC is going to pour a huge amount of money. So what's the choice you have? The choice you have is, okay, they're going to throw a lot of money at me, but I'm going to make this a major campaign issue.
Ooh.
I ain't going to run away from it.
Yeah.
What do we stand for as a nation? And I'll tell you something, getting back to the Democratic Party, what the Democratic establishment people say, well, Gaza, it's an issue out there, but it's not the main issue. It's not the pocketbook issues, more important. Healthcare is more important. But you know what? I'll tell you this is my own view, is what people have a sense, consciously and unconsciously, if you are turning your back on starving children in Gaza, why the hell am I going to trust you on anything?
It's a great point.
Is that a fair point?
I think it's a very fair point. I think if you turn your back on starvation in general, especially if you're complicit in it, I think that's where a lot of, at least voters feel like there is some sort of separation. And if you make them realize that there isn't, right? If we are protecting or funding or rewarding this in any way, then you are complicit. But I think voters feel like they're too derivative from it. They're like, oh, well, that's not exactly what I'm voting for. And I do think, not to undermine those other issues, but I do think the kitchen table issues, I think those are incredibly important. And I think the more that people are struggling internally in our country, the less of a concern we have externally. So it is a tough balance. If you make your entire campaign about Gaza, the people in whatever small area that you represent will go, hey, listen, that's horrible what's happening over here.
You're
but we're struggling too, so don't forget about us.
You got it right.
So how do you balance those two?
Well, that's what politics is about. I mean, you make.
I feel like you've done it well. I feel like you talk way more about internal issues
I do.
than external ones.
I do. And Gaza then becomes a moral issue that you cannot run away from.
Right.
But at the end of the day, we have to ask ourselves, why are we where we are? And it's a funny thing. I was talking to my staff when we were driving in today and reviewing. There was I think it was Pew, P-E-W. They do these studies.
Polls?
Yeah, they do things. And they asked the question, I may be a little bit wrong here, but they said they do it. And they say, are you better off today than somebody in your situation, middle class, whatever you are, were 40 years ago? That's the question.
Yeah.
What do you think the answer was?
This is an insane statistic. I've seen this research. They're like that people are making inflation adjusted the same wage that they were making 50 years ago.
I don't mean that. I don't even mean statistically. I'm
It's
going
actually
beyond that.
emotionally. Are you better off than somebody?
How do you
in your
feel? Do you
position
think
40 years ago?
somebody in
No.
your condition was living better 40 years ago, or are you living better today?
I think the average person would say no.
That's right. That's an astonishing.
Overwhelmingly.
All right. Let's go through the economics of it, and then we'll go through the broader issue. Economics. This is an amazing fact. And again, it's something that people don't talk about because you got a lot of the Republicans want to make change. It's almost always the wrong kind of change. And the Democrats want to maintain the status quo, which is unsustainable.
Yeah.
That's what the choices that people have.
Yeah.
All right.
But sometimes if the status quo is horrible, any change looks better. And I think
Which is why Donald Trump is the president.
That's what I think a lot of Democrats don't understand. Like, you've been very critical. We're lifelong, I can't speak for everybody, but like I grew up in New York City, I'm a lifelong Democrat, and we were very critical of the Democratic establishment. And it was through the lens of, hey, you're not addressing the concerns of the people. And by doing that, we were framed in a way that I think, and we continue to be framed in a way I think it was very unfair.
Oh, you don't know nothing about being framed.
It's a refusal.
I don't feel sorry for you. I'm sorry.
But it's just a refusal to look in the mirror.
That's exactly
And
it.
yeah.
All right, here's a fact. This is an astounding fact. Nobody talks about it. And this is the other thing. More important than anything else is people want to say, do you know what is going on in my life?
Yeah.
And if you don't talk about that reality, no one's going to trust you at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, fact.
But let's call people Latinx, Bernie.
That's right. That's right. That's the issue. All right. Over the last 52 years, I may be off a little bit here, but more or less I'm right. Over the last 52 years, there's been an explosion in technology, right? This stuff that we're looking at did not exist. Every worker in America is more productive, correct?
Absolutely.
Correct.
Okay, computers, etc. How much have real inflation accounted for wages increased in that 52-year time? Obviously, with all of that worker productivity increasing,
Nothing.
we must be making a lot more
0%.
money, right?
Nothing.
0%.
Zero.
Yeah.
In fact, there's an argument it's a little bit less in real housing costs, healthcare costs.
But because TVs are cheaper, you think that you're living a more luxurious
Right,
lifestyle.
but take a deep breath about that fact.
Yeah.
What does it say? Meanwhile, during that same period of time, there was a massive, according to RAND Corporation, not a socialist organization, there was a massive transfer of wealth from the bottom 90% to the top 1%.
But Bernie, surely they're paying taxes on all that new profits
right.
they're making, right?
Right.
And
They're
surely
not. Right. But that is getting back to this important issue, which I kind of started, what is reality? So if you're the average worker out there,
Yes, sir.
you're seeing people on the top getting phenomenally rich. You're no better off. And by the way, the likelihood is your kid is going to be worse off than you are, right?
Yeah.
That's a tough reality. Why is that? Who the hell is even talking about? A, why is that? And B, what the hell do we do about
And
it?
I think that was the appeal of Trump, is he appeared to be talking
Absolutely.
to us.
Exactly.
Whereas Democrats are kind of condescending and ignoring it.
All right. Essentially, Democrats say, status quo is working okay. We're going to tinker around the edges, make a little bit of a change here. Trump says the whole
It's
goddamn
horrible.
system is broken.
Yeah.
What is it? I will fix it.
Yeah.
Well, his solutions will make it worse. But he at least acknowledged
Yes.
that the system is broken. Democrats often don't.